In the previous video, Lord Diavel shocked everyone by publicly declaring that the next emperor of the empire would be the child born between him and Princess Lottie's. Elias tried to fight back and protect her, but because of his injuries, he was quickly subdued. Soon after, Lord Diavel suddenly went into a violent rampage. While trying to stop him, Princess Lottie's witnessed fragments of his memories. And in those memories, she discovered the painful truth. The cursed wound tormenting Lord Diavel was caused by his own father. As Lady Lottie's witnessed his memories, his suffering poured directly into her heart. The pain became overwhelming, and she collapsed. When she slowly opens her eyes again, she feels confused. This place feels different. Where is she? Then she realizes something. She has entered the deepest part of Lord Diavel's mind. In the darkness, she suddenly notices a small figure sitting alone. It is a young boy, the same child she saw in the memory. Young Lord Diavel. Lady Lottie's slowly walks toward him. The boy is muttering the same words over and over again. I cannot trust anyone. I have to become stronger. Strong enough to overpower everything. As he repeats those words, darkness begins to pour out of his body. The more hatred he feels, the more the darkness grows around him. Lady Lottie's quickly notices something. Every time his emotions spiral out of control, the darkness becomes even thicker. The young Diavel clenches his fists in rage. He swears that he will never forgive them. He will kill them all. As she listens to his words, Lady Lottie's begins seeing flashes of the future. She sees how Diavel takes revenge, how he kills her stepmother, how he kills her brother and sister, and finally, how he kills Emperor Magnus with a single swing of his sword. This is the punishment he delivers to the Empire. Lady Lottie's quickly tries to stop him. She tells him that the more hatred he feeds, the stronger the curse will become. Suddenly, Diavel clutches his chest. A terrible pain spreads through his body. He screams loudly in agony. Without hesitation, Lady Lottie's rushes forward and hugs him tightly. She understands something now. Because of her father's actions, the real Diavel was left behind on that terrible day. All that remained was hatred. While holding him, she begins using her healing magic. She gently tells him something. She promises that she will break his curse. Slowly, Diavel's rage begins to calm down. Lady Lottie's continues speaking softly. She says she will be the one to end the chain of hatred that her father started. As her healing magic flows through him, the darkness begins to fade. Eventually, the Duke sits down quietly. The violent energy surrounding him slowly disappears. Lady Lottie's finally breathes in relief. At last, he has regained his consciousness. She carefully examines him and asks if he is still feeling any pain. Lord Diavel looks at her silently. The thick fog that once clouded his mind is now gone. For some reason, when she touches him, he feels something strange. Something warm. Something peaceful. Before she can react, Diavel suddenly pulls her into a tight embrace. He realizes that when he holds her, his heart feels calm. Lady Lottie's is completely surprised by his sudden action. When she tries to move away, she notices something. Diavel is already exhausted. He slowly collapses down while still holding her. Within moments, he falls asleep, still embracing her. Lady Lottie's tries to gently move away, but his grip is too tight. She cannot escape. However, she soon realizes something. He is sleeping peacefully. For the first time, Lady Lottie's softly touches his face. He looks so young when he is sleeping. Because of her father, Diavel lost his entire family. That loss turned him into the man he is today. While Emperor Magnus expanded his empire through violence, she could only watch silently. But now her father is gone, and Lady Lottie's has made a decision. She will help Lord Diavel as much as she can, no matter what it takes. Eventually, exhaustion takes over her as well, and slowly, she falls asleep beside him. As sunlight passes through the window, both of them can be seen sleeping on the floor, still embracing each other. After a while, Lord Diavel slowly wakes up. For a moment, he feels confused. He wonders how long it has been since he last slept this deeply. But when he opens his eyes fully, he is suddenly shocked. Lady Lottie's is sleeping right beside him. Then he notices something else. The wound on his body has healed. The pain that used to torment him has also subsided. And he quickly realizes why. All of this happened because of her. She used her power and stopped him from losing control. Just then, Lady Lottie's also begins to wake up. The moment she realizes that Lord Diavel is already awake, she becomes startled. She quickly moves away from him and apologizes for her rudeness. She explains that she didn't even realize when she fell asleep. Lady Lottie's then looks at him carefully. Compared to yesterday, Lord Diavel looks much better. He is sitting calmly, and his condition seems stable. After some time, the chief advisor, Raven Velkus, arrives in the room. He politely greets Lady Lottie's and introduces himself. Lady Lottie's also greets him and introduces herself in return. However, Raven is clearly surprised when he sees Lord Diavel. Because due to the curse, Diavel has never been able to sleep properly. Every morning he usually wakes up exhausted after suffering through terrible nightmares. But today he looks completely calm. And Raven quickly understands the reason. It must be because of Lady Lottie's power. He also notices something else. Lady Lottie's no longer looks as frightened as she did yesterday. Raven then informs the Duke that there is an important negotiation scheduled for today, so he should begin preparing himself. Soon after, several soldiers enter the room carrying a large wooden bucket filled with warm water. They begin preparing everything for Lord Diavel's bath. Lady Lottie's looks surprised and asks Raven something. Is the Duke planning to bathe here? Raven calmly asks if there is a problem with the location. If necessary, they can change it. But Lady Lottie's quickly explains that this castle has a proper bathroom. Raven then reveals the reason. Because of the curse wound, Lord Diavel's injuries worsen if he soaks in hot water. That is why he cannot bathe normally. Hearing this makes Lady Lottie's feel sad. Because of the curse, the Duke has not even been able to bathe properly. But then an idea suddenly appears in her mind. She turns toward Lord Diavel and asks if he would like to come with her to the bathroom. Diavel thinks about it for a moment. Then he agrees. After some time, they arrive at the castle's bathroom. Lady Lottie's quietly places her hand into the water. Then she begins using her healing magic. Slowly, the water starts gaining gentle healing properties. After a while, she finishes. She tells Lord Diavel that he can now step into the bathtub. The healing water will prevent his wounds from worsening. Diavel slowly walks toward the bath. Then he steps inside. Almost immediately, he feels something strange. His body begins to relax in a way he has never experienced before. Normally, whenever he takes a bath, his entire body burns with pain. But now, the pain is being soothed away. There is no burning sensation. No suffering. For the first time, bathing feels peaceful. Lord Diavel quietly thanks her. He says she possesses incredible power. Lady Lottie smiles happily. She is simply glad that she was able to help him. Then she explains something from her childhood. When she was little, her mother used to do the same thing for her. It always felt very comforting and soothing. Her mother once taught her that healing magic can also be used in gentle ways like this. Lady Lottie's then tells him something sincerely. Whenever he wants to take a bath again, he can call her anytime. But suddenly, Lord Diavel reaches out and pulls her toward him. Then he looks directly into her eyes and quietly asks her a question. Why is she going this far for him? He asks her if she is no longer afraid of him. Lady Lottie's proudly replies that she is not afraid at all. But Lord Diavel calmly tells her that she doesn't need to act tough around him. She has already seen what happens when his cursed wound activates. When that happens, he completely loses control. And when he loses control, he becomes a monster who can hurt anyone standing near him. However, Lady Lottie's firmly tells him that he is not a monster. Hearing this, Lord Diavel goes quiet for a moment. Then he slowly says that in the past, there was once someone just like her. Someone who was not afraid of him either. And that memory brings him back to a painful moment from his past. One day, while they were taking shelter in a broken building, Lord Diavel's curse suddenly activated. His body twisted in agony as he began screaming in unbearable pain. Night after night, the soldiers tried their best to restrain him, but he was completely out of control. Anyone who came near him would be attacked without hesitation. Many of the knights were injured trying to stop him. They were exhausted, bruised, and wounded. After finally regaining control, Lord Diavel looked at them with guilt in his eyes and apologized. Because of him, they had all been hurt. But then, someone quietly walked up behind him. That man gently comforted him and said that if the cursed wound could be healed, his seizures would eventually stop as well. He even joked that boys at Diavel's age are supposed to be energetic anyway, so everything would be fine. That man treated him with warmth, kindness, and genuine affection. His name was Hugo, and he was the only one who never feared him. But one day during training, the nightmare returned. Lord Diavel suddenly lost control again. He began swinging his sword wildly in every direction. In his rage, 2 or 3 men were seriously injured. Everyone around him froze in fear. No one dared to approach him. But Hugo did something no one expected. He rushed straight toward Diavel. One of the soldiers tried to stop him, shouting that it was useless and that he should come back. But Hugo refused. He pointed out that the fence nearby had already been weakened by a lightning strike earlier. If Diavel continued rampaging there, it could become extremely dangerous. The others warned him again. They told him to stop risking his life for someone who had already caused so much chaos. But Hugo didn't listen, because to him, Diavel was not a monster. He was someone who needed help. And so Hugo stepped forward. Diavel suddenly attacked him. But instead of fighting back, Hugo grabbed his sword. Then he pulled Diavel into a tight embrace, trying desperately to calm him down. In his uncontrollable rage, Diavel shouted at Hugo to leave him alone. He warned him that if he stayed any closer, he might kill him. But Hugo refused to let go. He kept calling out to him, desperately trying to bring Diavel back to his senses. Seeing the situation getting worse, the other knights rushed forward to help. But before they could reach them, Diavel completely lost control. His rage exploded. A terrifying wave of dark energy burst out from his body. The impact was so powerful that Hugo was violently thrown backward. And because the fence had already been weakened, the wooden barrier shattered instantly. In the next moment, Hugo was sent flying over the edge. He fell from a terrifying height, and by the time the soldiers rushed to rescue him, it was already too late. The fall had killed him instantly. When Diavel's rage finally subsided, he saw Hugo's lifeless body on the ground. And in that moment, his heart shattered, because the one person who had shown him true kindness had died because of him. Roland saw Hugo's body and was consumed with anger. He charged straight at Diavel. With overwhelming force, he slammed the Duke into the ground and grabbed his neck tightly. Roland shouted that Hugo had died because of him. And if Diavel died now, then maybe no one else would have to get hurt. Another knight quickly rushed forward and pulled Roland away from him. But even as he was dragged back, Roland continued shouting curses at Diavel. Meanwhile, Diavel lay there on the ground, and a terrible thought echoed in his mind. If he had simply died earlier, none of this would have happened. He blamed himself entirely for Hugo's death. Some time later, Diavel was resting alone when he overheard several knights talking nearby. One of them said it was becoming far too dangerous to continue. They should give up on protecting the prince. But Raven immediately objected. He said that for the revival of the Fairvale Kingdom, they could never abandon the first prince. Another knight spoke with frustration. He said that if Lord Diavel continued rampaging like this, there would only be more casualties. Hearing those words, Diavel quietly began to cry. Monster, murderer, it would be better if he died. Those cruel words echoed endlessly inside his mind. Yet he was still being kept alive, only for the sake of restoring the Fairvale Kingdom. Through his tears, he whispered an apology to Hugo. Because of him, Hugo had died. This is why, in the present, Lord Diavel tells Lady Lotties to stay away from him. If she doesn't want to die, she should never care about him more than necessary. But as he continues speaking, he suddenly notices something. Lady Lotties is crying. He looks at her in surprise and asks why she is crying. Lady Lotties wipes her tears and answers softly, because the way he tells the story makes it sound like nothing. But the truth is, it must have been incredibly painful. Hugo clearly cherished him deeply, and losing someone like that must have broken his heart. Yet he has been blaming himself ever since. Then Lady Lotties gently tells him something unexpected. From now on, he should never call himself a monster again. And if he ever loses control because of his curse, she will be there. She will stay by his side and stop him, no matter what happens. Hearing those words, Lord Diavel finally breaks down. Tears slowly fall from his eyes. Lord Diavel then warns her about something important. Just because she has healing powers does not mean it is okay for her to get hurt. But Lady Lotties quietly tells him something surprising. Her healing power does not work on herself. Only then does Diavel properly notice her condition. There is still a visible injury mark on her face, and her hands are severely wounded as well. Having the power to heal others, but being unable to heal herself, has always made her feel a little sad. Yet even with those injuries, she still ran forward to help him when he went into a rampage. Lord Diavel sighs and tells her that she was lucky yesterday. She managed to escape with only minor injuries. But if he ever enters that state again, she must immediately run away from him. However, Lady Lottie's refuses. Lord Diavel's expression darkens. He asks her why she would refuse something so obvious. Lady Lottie's then explains that he is her first priority. There is a very important reason why she must heal his wound and break the curse. Lord Diavel is surprised. He asks her what that reason could possibly be. Lady Lottie's hesitates for a moment. Then, with a nervous voice, she reveals the truth. The cursed sword that wounded him was forged by her own mother. For a moment, Lord Diavel is completely shocked. He never imagined that Lady Lottie's mother was the one who created that cursed sword. His expression hardens as he steps closer to her and demands an explanation. Lady Lottie's slowly begins telling him the story. Her mother was the daughter of the chief of a small island nation. She possessed a rare power, the power of healing. But that was not the only power she carried. She also possessed the power to create curses. When Emperor Magnus discovered that her mother had healing abilities, he immediately invaded her island. The emperor captured her and used the lives of the islanders as leverage. With their lives on the line, he forced her to leave the island and become his bride. Lady Lottie's was only 5 years old when another terrible truth was discovered. The emperor learned that her mother could also use curse magic. At first, he tried to force her to use that power for his own benefit. But when she refused, he beat her mercilessly. When even that failed, the emperor used something far crueler. He used Lady Lottie's as a hostage. He threatened that if her mother did not use her curse power to serve him, he would kill her daughter. To protect her child, Lady Lottie's mother had no choice. She finally agreed to the emperor's command. And under that pressure, she forged the most powerful weapon of all. The cursed sword. It was never something she wanted to create. But once the sword was finished, her regret became overwhelming. Deep in her heart, she hated what she had done. So without the emperor knowing, she secretly began searching for a way to break the curse she had created. But one day, the emperor discovered her secret. The punishment was brutal. He beat her so violently that she collapsed onto the ground. Her body could no longer endure the pain. In her final moments, she called Lady Lottie's closer. She told her daughter to listen carefully. But Lottie's desperately begged her mother not to speak. She knew that even talking would only worsen her pain. Still, her mother continued. Through weak breaths, she confessed that because of the cursed sword she created, countless people had suffered. So she begged her daughter for one final request. Please break the curse of that sword. Because now, she was the only one who had the power to do it. After saying those words, her mother took her last breath, and Lady Lottie's was left behind, crying in despair. After hearing the entire story, Lord Diavel becomes furious. His anger toward Emperor Magnus burns intensely. Because of that cruel man, Lady Lottie's has been forced to carry such a painful burden. Lady Lottie's then quietly tells him something else. She still has not learned the exact method to break the curse. But her mother told her clearly that she possesses the power to do it. And to fulfill her mother's final wish, she will find a way. No matter how long it takes, she will break the curse of that sword and free him from the suffering it causes. Then she gently asks him for something. She asks him not to let her leave ever again. After a moment of silence, Lord Diavel agrees. But he asks her to promise him something as well. She must never push herself too hard. Then, in a slightly nervous voice, he adds something unexpected. If anything happens to her, he will lose the only person who can heal his wounds. Seeing his reaction, Lady Lottie smiles softly. She promises him that she will be careful. Then she raises her hand. She explains that if they press the backs of their hands together, it becomes a promise in the traditional Fairvale style. Lord Diavel looks genuinely surprised. He is amazed that she knows so much about Fairvale traditions. Still, he raises his hand as well. Their hands gently touch, and with quiet smiles, they promise each other that they will keep their words. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Alvi is not happy at all about Lord Diavel's decision. Instead of killing the enemy's daughter, he is planning to marry her. One of the knights tries to calm him down. He says that Lord Diavel must have his reasons. But Alvi cannot accept that. Because of that woman's father, their entire country was destroyed. Raven then speaks calmly. He explains that Lord Diavel only keeps people alive when they are useful to him. After all, Lord Diavel is known to be an exceptionally ruthless man. And the moment he decides someone is no longer necessary, he will dispose of them without a shred of mercy. But unfortunately for them, they do not know the truth. Lord Diavel has already become completely obsessed with Lady Lotties. The next day, Lord Diavel tells Lady Lotties that there is something important he wants to discuss with her. But before that, she needs to change her clothes. Soon, a purple-haired knight arrives to guide Lady Lotties to Lord Diavel's room. When she enters the room, she immediately freezes. She is completely mesmerized by his appearance. Lord Diavel is wearing elegant dark clothing decorated with an ornate gold brooch, a red sash, and a purple sash. The outfit follows the traditional attire of Fairvale. In those clothes, he looks far more dignified, more like true royalty. Lord Diavel calmly tells her that he will be going out for a while. But before leaving, there is something he must do first. He wants to assign a dedicated knight to protect her. He explains that there are several skilled knights she can choose from. Lady Lotties is very surprised. She never expected that a knight of Fairvale would become her personal guard. But then a worrying thought crosses her mind. Will those knights even accept her? After all, she is the daughter of an enemy country. Becoming the knight of Lady Lotties might not be something they want. Soon, Lord Diavel leads her into another room. Inside, 3 knights are already waiting. She must choose one of them. The first knight is Randolph. He has black hair and a noticeable scar across his face. The second knight is Eric, who has silver hair and a sharp, cold gaze. The third knight is Serge, a man with brown hair and piercing green eyes. Lady Lotties quickly realizes something. These are elite knights. She has seen them before. Randolph is even powerful enough to capture Elias himself. Lord Diavel turns to the 3 knights. He calmly tells them that he has a request. Randolph immediately bows and replies. He tells the prince to give his command. Lord Diavel then reveals the request. From today onward, Lady Lotties will choose one of them to become her dedicated knight. The moment those words are spoken, the atmosphere instantly changes. The knights look shocked. Confusion spreads across their faces. Randolph slowly asks again, just to be certain. Is she really choosing one of them? Lord Diavel calmly answers yes. He explains that without Lady Lotties, restoring the empire would be impossible. And because of that, they must protect the princess. Randolph hesitates for a moment. Then he nervously explains their position. They understand the importance of Lady Lotties. However, they are knights who swore loyalty to Fairvale. Even after losing their country, their oath remains unshaken. Lord Diavel's eyes narrow slightly. He asks them directly, are they saying they cannot become the knight of Lady Lotties, even if they understand her importance? Randolph quietly answers that their loyalty belongs only to Lord Diavel. They cannot swear loyalty to her. Serge then speaks coldly. He says that he will not become her knight. Eric immediately scolds Serge, telling him to mind his tongue in front of the prince. But Lord Diavel raises his hand and stops Eric. Instead, he tells Serge to continue speaking. Serge then reveals the painful truth. Randolph once had a wife and children, but they were killed by the soldiers of Lady Lotties' father. Because of that, how could they ever swear loyalty to the daughter of the enemy who destroyed his family? Serge continues. He says that he also lost his entire family to those same enemy soldiers. So even if they were ordered to serve her, their hearts simply could not accept it. Randolph lowers his head and apologizes to Lord Diavel. He admits that Serge is right. All of them feel the same way. Lord Diavel remains silent for a moment. He understands their pain. Losing loved ones like that is something no one can easily endure. Then he notices Lady Lotties. She is trembling. Because of the evil actions of her father, she now has to suffer the hatred of those around her. The situation traps Lord Diavel from both sides. He needs someone strong enough to guard her. But he also cannot force these knights to do something their hearts reject. His head begins to ache as he searches for a solution. Even so, he asks them one more time, He understands their feelings. But Lady Lottie's still needs protection. At that moment, Lady Lottie's gently interrupts. She asks if it is really necessary for them to become her personal knight. Maybe any available guard could protect her when needed. She suggests that might be enough. But Lord Diavel immediately shakes his head. Ordinary guards cannot handle the responsibility of protecting her. She needs someone far more capable. Then suddenly, Lord Diavel gives a new order. He tells the knights to release the silver-haired man from the dungeon. And he announces that he will make that man Lady Lottie's dedicated guard knight. The knights freeze in shock. Even Lady Lottie's is stunned by the decision, because she never expected this outcome. Lord Diavel has decided to make Melodic Elias her personal knight. Here the video end. Why did Lord Diavel suddenly decide to appoint Elias as Princess Lottie's personal bodyguard? What if Elias betrays him and escapes with Lottie's? And most importantly, will Princess Lottie's be able to find a way to break Lord Diavel's terrible curse? We'll find out in the next part. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.